Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we're going to talk about cell referencing in Microsoft Excel. So when we talk about cell reference is a way of representing the identity and the location of any particular cell by combining column name and row number. So if I just open this particular Excel, so when you talk about combining column name and row number in order to find the identity or the location of that particular cell, we are talking about the column and the cell, the row. So the columns are represented by these alphabetical letters, and the rows are represented by this the downward numbers that we're seeing on my left hand side, this one's here. So if I was to reference this particular cell that I've just typed in H, so this cell, if you look at the corner right here, you realize that this is J7. So J7 means that this column 7 row, this column J, row 7. So that's what we mean by referencing this cell to find its location in this particular Excel spreadsheet. So we have three types of cell referencing in Excel, and one of them is relative cell reference. Another one is absolute cell reference, and last one is mixed cell reference. So we are going to start by looking at relative cell reference, which is the default cell referencing and is the most used cell referencing among the three references. So, and it changes when the formula is copied or dragged to another cell. So what do you mean by that? Let me just introduce grid lines. So what do you mean by that is that let's say I have 4 in this H8 and 2 in this I8. So if I are to get the product, of these two in J8, so I just need to type in the formula. That is just, if you want to type in a formula, just start by typing equals to, then click the cell that you want, and then times or multiply by I8, then you click it. So if you click on this cell, you realize that in the formula bar, it has just highlighted the formula, that is H8 is equal to H8 multiplied by I8. So if I were to type in 2 in H9 and 5 in I5, and I need to get the product, or I need to copy the formula that we used in this the above calculation, what I need to is to just click on this result, and then just drag down the cell. So that is relative cell referencing. It will copy the formula, but instead of giving or highlighting what will just change is the cell referencing. That is, instead of H8, it will give you H9 and I9. So it will give you the product of H9 and I9. So that's what we call relative cell referencing. So if I was to do calculation in this, if I was to get the total cost of, let me get rid of the grids again. So in this table, you can see I have clothing items. We have the price of each item, we have the quantity, and we have the total cost. Let's assume that we have the entry of about 50,000 items. So in order to calculate the total cost equals to the price of an item multiplied by the quantity. So if I was to get the total cost of this set of socks, just type in equals to price, click on the cell price, multiply by quantity, and click enter. So if I was also to get the total cost of a leather jacket, I just click the total cost of jacket and again type in the formula, that is equals to price multiplied by quantity, then click enter. So you can imagine you have entry of about 50,000 or 100,000 items, and you need to do the calculation of all those items. So realize that it will be very difficult for you, and it will be near impossible to do that calculation individually, one by one. So what we need to do is to just let me do the calculation again. We just need to calculate the total cost of the first entry, that is socks, equals to price multiplied by quantity. Click enter. So for relative cell referencing, what we need is to just drag down, so that now that we have this result, we need to just copy or drag down this. So if I was to place cursor at the bottom right of this particular result cell of total cost until I see now this cross, the dark cross, then you drag down, it will now automatically calculate the values of all the entries that we have. So realize that what it does, it just changes the cell referencing, but it retains the content of each cell. For example, in this total cost of leather jacket, realize that it has retained the formula, that is multiplication of price and quantity, but what changes is the location of the cells. That is, we have now moved from a leather jacket, or from socks to leather jacket, and the price cost now changes from D5 to D6, and the quantity changes from E5 to E6, and it gives you the product of those two, the product of D6 and E6. So if I was to get the sum or the total cost equals to, just type in sum, the sum of all this, click enter. Now you have the total cost. So that's relative cell referencing, and that's how it is applied to simplify your work. So let's move to the next cell referencing, and that is absolute cell referencing. So absolute cell referencing has a $sign attached to each letter and number in cell reference. The $sign before the column and row identifier means that both column and row have been locked, and that is, cell remains constant. What this means is that if you have, let's say, if you have this D, this is a cell D2. If you are to lock this particular cell, what we need is to introduce a $sign before this letter. So before a column is represented by alphabetical an alphabet, that is a D. That's introduced $sign, and before a number is represents the column, that is produce a $sign in between. So in this way, if you write a formula and introduce this $sign, it means that even if you drag down your formula, it will just lock this particular cell, that is D2. So that's what we're going to. So if we look at an example in this particular table, let me also remove the grid lines. So you realize that this table is similar to our previous table, but just in that we have introduced tax rate, and we have sell tax column. So let's say you want to calculate the sell tax for socks. What we need is to just calculate the total cost, and then you multiply by the tax rate. So just type in the formula equals to total cost is price multiplied by quantity, and then now we need to introduce in our tax rate. You multiply by tax rate, that is 15%, and it's in H5. Click enter. Now let's try to copy or drag down the formula to these other items and see what happens. So if I use to drag down, realize now the result that we're getting is not what we expected, because now this relative cell referencing, and it will just if I click on this this error, the value error, we realize that the formula is E8 is the price of leather jacket, and F8 is the quantity. That's right. But now it has just changed the tax rate is giving us H6. H6 is this particular cell, that is total cost, and it's throwing this. It's complaining because this is not even a number. It's a text. So this relative cell referencing. So if you are to do the absolute, if you are to get the correct result, we need to introduce or use the absolute cell referencing. And in order to do that, just type in the formula equals to, so sell tax equals to price, you multiply by quantity, you multiply by tax rate. But we want to lock this tax rate in such a way that when we drag down our formula, this tax rate will just remain the same. So in order to do that, we're going to introduce $sign before letter H, introduce a $sign, and also in between H and 5, introduce also another $sign, and click enter. So when you drag down a formula or copy down the formula, now you realize that now we have the expected results. So that's absolute referencing. If I was to check this one, the formula for sell tax for leather jacket, we realize that the cell reference of price has changed, and also F8 has also been updated, but we have locked the tax, the cell for tax. This one remains the same. It refers to the tax rate, that is H5, this one here. So that's how we lock a cell, and that's how you apply or use absolute cell referencing to your advantage, or to make your work easier. So we now have another type of cell referencing, and that is mixed cell referencing. And this one, mixed cell reference, contains $sign attached to either a number or a letter in a reference. This combination of absolute and relative cell reference. So it means that let's assume you want to refer this cell E7. So there's a way you can refer to column alone, or you can just lock down column alone and not the row. So in this way, if you write a formula in this particular format, it means that the column will be locked, but the row will not be locked. So if I were to do an example, let's say you want to create a multiplication table. So let's just create a multiplication table, so that to indicate the application of mixed cell referencing. So let's do a 12 by 12 multiplication table. 1, 2. Let's do 12 by 12. So this let me increase the font to about 16. Let's make that bold. Now, if you want to create okay, so let's let me create this borders all around, and need to merge that and type in application table. So let's make that header one, and increase the font. Is the font to so let me remove the grid lines so that to make things clear. Now, if I was to get the product of 1 by 1, okay, let me do some styling for this particular table. let's say let's do some styling. So let's increase the font to 14 and change the font to Times New Roman. Make it bold once again. So now if you are to do multiplication, if we are to do the multiplication of 1 by 1, it means that we need to log we need so if we are to do the calculation or the multiplication all across, it means that we need the product of row and column. So if you are to get the product of 1 and these other numbers, means that you will need to log this column, but will not be able to log the rows, so that to get the product of 1 and these other numbers. So let me introduce that. So the product here will be equals to cell K8 multiplied by J9. So here we need to log this K. Just again to introduce a dollar sign before K, but we're going to leave 8 alone, and then you're going to log row 9 by introducing dollar sign in between. So if I was to drag across, sorry, need to reverse that. We need to lock this one. Just lock in cell 8, this one here. You need to lock row 8, and then you lock down column J. So what you've just done, this you need the product of column J and the rows all across. So what you need to lock down the column J and the subsequent rows. So if I was to drag down this particular, now you see we have the desired results. That's 1 multiplied by 1 is 1, 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, 1 multiplied by 3 is 3, and so forth and so. So we're going to drag the formula across, and now we have the correct results. We have now a multiplication table, and this is made possible by applying the mixed cell referencing. So if I was to check or if I was to check the formula for finding the product of 5 and 7, that is 35, you see clearly that it's 08 multiplied by J15. But if you look, this J08, 8 is locked. That is row 8 is locked. It means that if we want to find the product of this 8 across, what we need is to lock down row 8 and then calculate with using the subsequent columns. So we have 8 locked, then we multiply by 1, we get 8. That is 08. That's J16. J16. You multiply by the subsequent columns in order to get the product for across the value 8. So we have 1 by 8 is 8, 2 by 8 is 16, 3 by 8 is 24, and so forth and so on. So that's how you simply use the mixed cell reference to perform some of these complicated tasks. So that's all about cell referencing in Microsoft Excel. Thank you for watching, and kindly remember to subscribe. Click the notification bell so that whenever I produce a video, you'll be among the first people to get notified. So thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial. Have a nice time.